You said it's okay. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Huh? I'm going to quote you on that. Go Dodgers. Afternoon. We are here today to share an overview of a highly anticipated report, the After Action Review of Alert Notification Systems and Evacuation Policies for the Eaton and Palisades fires. This is an independent review that examined how alerts, warnings, and evacuations were executed during this year's catastrophic wildfires. You will hear directly from the contractor who conducted this independent review, the McChrystal Group. And next week, on Tuesday, September 30th, they will provide a fuller presentation of this report to the Board of Supervisors, where we will have a more in-depth discussion about their findings and, more importantly, their recommendations. Today's overview is only the first, I repeat, only the first step of sharing information publicly. I want to provide some important context about how we got here. On January 28th, just weeks after the devastating fires, I co-authored a motion with Supervisor Lindsay Horvath that directed this independent review to be completed. My goal was clear: provide the community with an independent, data-driven, and fact-based review of how alert warnings and evacuations were handled by the county. The McChrystal Group ensured the report consisted of a robust set of data sets, both from inside and outside of county resources, and conducted a deep analysis of what happened in the immediate response and aftermath of the fires. This included hosting an important series of community listening sessions where they heard directly from the residents who were impacted. This report includes and uses a lived experience of residents to help lay out the timeline of events and what happened. Their effort was critical to assessing what happened during the initial hours of the Eaton fire and crafting a comprehensive set of findings. I want to be clear about why this independent review matters. In the aftermath of the Eaton fire, we lost 19 lives that can never be brought back. It is deeply important that survivors get answers and accountability that they rightly deserve. I've heard the pleas of community members from Altadena, especially those from West Altadena. These cries for clarity about what happened on the first terrible night and early morning hours of the Eaton fire are valid and deserved to be answered. Make no mistake, the Eaton fire was a catastrophic and complex incident. Providing answers is not a simple task, and this report is not a one and done. To our survivors, I wish there was one specific issue that was identified in this report that could have changed the course of history. But there are steps we can take to ensure we do better, and we will do exactly that. I've seen the devastation and loss firsthand. My mission is to ensure the county does its part to better navigate wildfires in the future. That's why I'll be bringing forward a motion for our board meeting on Tuesday that will immediately advance implementation of the recommendations contained in the report with an emphasis on expanding, restructuring, and bolstering our Office of Emergency Management, strengthening the tools and technology that our first responders rely on when facing emergencies. This will help us right-size and deliver emergency services to more than 10 million residents that Los Angeles County serves. It will also help us better define and establish the roles and responsibilities between first responders and our emergency management. We are living in an age where we must be ready to face the ever-growing threat of wildfires and other disasters. With winter coming, I'm now concerned about mudslides in the Altadena area, and let us not forget, earthquakes continue to happen. Emergency management professionals should be resourced to work directly with our first responders. Our emergency management systems must achieve clarity and be supported by robust training. We must also update our technical tools to make sure our county is using cutting-edge technology during these emergencies. Both actions have the same goal: improving communication, something we saw did not happen during this fire. That means improving communication within our county departments, as well as between county and our other communities. I'm committed to quickly implementing these critical changes so our county is better prepared moving forward. I must acknowledge that the McChrystal Group's evaluation is the first of more findings to come. Today's report is one of several after-action reports that are underway for the 2025 Los Angeles wildfires. Kevin McGowan, our Director of Office of Emergency Management, can share more details about that. Together, these reports will help us better understand what took place and how we can strengthen our emergency response systems moving forward. The purpose of this first action report is to identify lessons learned, improve community safety, and ensure that we are better prepared for the future. For me, this report is a roadmap, one that will strengthen our preparedness and regain public trust. Transparency and accountability are my commitments to my Eaton Canyon survivors. This report by the McChrystal Group is an important step forward to honor our commitment and deliver on that promise. I would now like to introduce Supervisor Lindsay Horvath.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you to our media partners for continuing to help keep our communities informed. The Palisades fire, simply put, was devastating. Pacific Palisades, Sunset Mesa, Malibu, Topanga Canyon, these vibrant communities that were deeply impacted, and some families lost everything. To those who have been directly affected, we are still here with you, and we are not leaving your side. The county stands with you, not just to provide answers, but to actively support you through every step of recovery. Chair Barger and I called for this after-action report and another focused on recovery and repopulation because transparency, accountability, and learning from what happened are essential. Today, we are sharing the first report focused on emergency alerts and evacuations. This report highlights areas where we must improve. It also reminds us of the extraordinary courage and dedication of our first responders and community volunteers. Their actions saved lives. From this report, it is clear we must clarify our protocols for evacuations and alerts. We must practice and train as a region even more than we already do. We must communicate early, often, and with one voice we must invest in technology, infrastructure, and most importantly, in the people who expect us to keep them safe. And above all, we must act. This report gives us a roadmap, but this is not the end. This is the beginning of a constant evolution in how we keep Angelenos safe through lessons learned and improvement through best practices. There are still questions and more answers to come. The county's recovery and repopulation after action report is underway, and the state is also conducting a review of the fire movement and of the resource deployment. I know the City of Los Angeles is also conducting after action reports, as well as the federal government. But let me be clear, we are not waiting. Implementation of the recommendations from this report is already underway. This is not simply about checking boxes, it's about making a sustained commitment to doing better every single day. That includes growing our Office of Emergency Management to meet the needs of a high-risk region, and we have to do better, and I know that we will. I'm confident of this because we learned from Woolsey, and I'm committed to making sure however many years of service I have are invested in an improved, coordinated, and easy-to-understand process of preparation and response to the emergencies that Mother Nature will inevitably send our way. I want to close by saying community partnerships are incredibly crucial. Programs like the Community Fire Brigade in Santa Monica Mountains, the first in the nation which I was proud to support, and emergency preparedness trainings in Topanga Canyon and beyond are the kinds of grassroots efforts we need to scale county-wide. When government and community work together, we are safer, we are stronger, and we are more resilient. The only way forward is together. Now I'd like to introduce Sean Tyree from the McChrystal Group to provide an overview of their findings. Sean and his team will also present a more detailed briefing at the Tuesday board meeting, which Supervisor Barger mentioned. Welcome, Sean. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Sean Tyree, the president of McChrystal Group's government sector. Let me begin by first acknowledging the unimaginable loss that the Los Angeles County residents suffered during the January fires. Our role here today is to discuss findings and recommendations that can improve the emergency preparedness and response in the face of future crises. We appreciate the cooperation and the commitment from the Board of Supervisors, the CEO's office, the County Emergency Management Enterprise that includes the Los Angeles County Fire Department, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, the Office of Emergency Management, and most importantly, the people of Los Angeles County. Your candor and transparency during a time of incredible loss and recovery were invaluable and will undoubtedly enhance the community's emergency response posture. McChrystal Group focuses on organizational performance enhancement for government agencies and businesses. As part of this specialization, we conduct after-action reviews, or AARs, of critical events because retrospective analysis provides an opportunity for improvement. Our mission was to understand what happened objectively and identify how the system can be strengthened and improved. This after-action review was not an investigation. We did not look for wrongdoing or to place blame. Our dedicated team included experts in emergency management, law enforcement, applied social sciences, meteorology, fire behavior, and data and analytics. These professionals have decades of experience in public service and organizational performance. Their expertise and skills enabled our team to process large amounts of data, conduct trauma-informed interviews, and identify findings that are not typically addressed by government agencies or businesses. In this review, our team conducted extensive data collection and analysis to lay out the timeline of events objectively. And we began by compiling information using passive and active data collection from various sources, including technical, human, and expert input. Our team examined notification and communication metadata, conducted qualitative interviews, and hosted community engagements to understand the human psychology and perspective that shaped the decision-making of both first responders and community members who were under duress and acting with incomplete information. This community input, interagency collaboration, and comprehensive data analysis were central to delivering findings and recommendations that are impartial, credible, and actionable. Our team analyzed over 150,000 records of alert and evacuation data. Our analysis also included the review of minute-by-minute GPS tracks for responding units that we had data for, satellite imagery, interviews, and community feedback. Additionally, McChrystal Group conducted 6 community listening engagements where we gathered firsthand community feedback on emergency and alert and evacuation communications during the wildfires. This helped identify, validate findings, offered a platform for residents to share their experiences, and enlisted the experience of the community to strengthen the county's emergency response and for future emergencies. These sessions also provided invaluable context into how residents received information and used it to make decisions in the moment. This multi-source analysis gave us a clear picture of how events unfolded and identified areas where improvement can and should occur. Between January 7th and January 9th, 6 separate fires ignited across the Los Angeles region. The conditions leading up to these fires and the response itself were unprecedented. Our review found no single point of failure, but rather a series of system stresses that pushed the county's emergency alert and evacuation capabilities to their limits. Our findings, however, did not indicate that the incident command hesitated or delayed in sending alerts and notifications based on the information they had at the time. The review identified specific systemic issues that played an outsized role in exacerbating the conditions and can be prevented and improved in the future. The report presents findings as factual statements and recommendations, which are proposed corrective actions for the county and agency leaders to take. We grouped our findings into 5 critical focus areas designed to help county leaders prioritize the most urgent areas for action. This will be presented in more detail at the Board of Supervisors board meeting on September 30th next week. To cover those briefly, I'll go over the 5. In critical focus area 1, the report identified ambiguity in the authority, processes, and policies of the agencies responsible for issuing evacuation messages and recommends strengthening protocols and standardizing authorities across all Los Angeles communities. This would include standardizing the issuance of warnings for zones adjacent to areas under an evacuation order, allowing the community more time to prepare, reducing risk, and adding redundancy. The second critical focus area highlights areas where structured training, formal staffing guidelines, and enhanced collaboration can strengthen interagency response. Establishing a structured training program for law enforcement and their fellow first responders will enhance coordination during fire incidents and evacuations, as well as improve traffic control strategies. For example, conducting deliberate rehearsals of evacuation warnings, orders, and traffic control both internally and with the community fosters familiarity and enhances interagency understanding of roles and responsibilities. This also helps familiarize staff and the public with actual execution, enabling them to identify potential issues and refine their actions at an individual and organizational level during less stressful, non-crisis times. Third, first responders and emergency managers began fire preparation while facing staffing shortages and resource constraints that ranged from personnel gaps, aging equipment, and budget limitations. What were previously manageable departmental resource challenges quickly became limiting factors in the response and the evacuation of over 250,000 residents. Chief among these resourcing shortfalls is the fact that Los Angeles County, the largest and most complex metropolitan area in the United States, has only 37 full-time staff members in the Office of Emergency Management for its 10 million residents. For comparison, New York City has more than 200 emergency managers for 8.5 million residents and a smaller geographic area with fewer jurisdictions. Situational awareness and interoperability are highlighted in focus area number 4. The county lacked common coordination tools and systems, which were further complicated by gaps in existing and aging systems. This impacted the incident command staff's ability to develop a common operating picture, issue alerts, and execute evacuations and even share information. Most importantly, Los Angeles County Fire, Sheriff, and OEM did not have a single technology-based system to coordinate their efforts beyond face-to-face collaboration at the command post, relying instead on calls, emails, texts, and radio communication. While these procedures align with historic precedent, there are technical systems that can streamline communication and coordination in a dynamic field crisis environment. Finally, critical focus area 5 examined community engagement and public information. While county agencies leveraged social media heavily before and during the incident, the lack of interagency coordination and public information led to fragmented messaging and inconsistent use of these communication channels. Earlier activation of a joint information center could have unified public messaging, reduced confusion, and ensured community understanding of the alert, warning, and evacuation processes. Establishment of this framework during preparation before crisis takes place can strengthen community trust and the system's effectiveness, and will be critical to better linking communities and communication streams in a way that drives familiarity and improves individual decision-making. The findings and recommendations in the AR were developed using a deliberate process and are intended to be both achievable and impactful. While the analysis was data-driven, the heart of this review lies in the voices of those that lived it. The stories we heard from residents and first responders were deeply personal and often heartbreaking. We also saw countless examples where the first responders took on unimaginable personal risk in their efforts to save and protect their communities. The nobility of their service and the heroism of their actions should be commended by all. To the first responders on the front lines, this report is not an indictment of your commitment to your communities or to your profession. While nothing can undo the loss of loved ones, homes, or businesses, we believe this report can serve as a catalyst for future change and improve upon Los Angeles County's emergency management response and preparedness, and even the world. The McChrystal Group looks forward to providing a full briefing to the board on September 30th. I'll now turn it over to Sheriff Luna for his remarks.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for joining us here today. I think a couple of my partners up here have already said this, but I will reemphasize this. We do have to remember that 31 total lives were lost. So for us, when we're talking about this stuff, when we're working together, rolling up our sleeves, that is in the back of all of our minds and very prevalent in our conversations. But I do want to point out that by far this was the worst natural disaster we have ever seen in this county's history. Hurricane-force winds reaching over 100 miles per hour, embers the size of footballs traveling up to 2 miles, and dangerously dry conditions created erratic and unpredictable conditions that destroyed communities and tragically claimed the lives that I just spoke about. Yet amid this devastation, we also witnessed extraordinary acts of kindness, heroism, and resilience that brought our communities together when they needed it most. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the families who lost loved ones and the countless homes and businesses that were lost and destroyed. The emotional toll of this historic natural disaster cannot be overstated, and our thoughts remain with the entire community as they continue to rebuild and move forward. I would also like to recognize all of our dedicated sheriff deputies, volunteer search and rescue personnel, and firefighters who work tirelessly around the clock, many of them who were personally affected and lost their own homes. And just as a reminder, I had 17 employees lose their homes during this event. Our deputies did an outstanding job saving countless of lives while facing unprecedented and life-threatening conditions. I apologize for that. Throughout the after-action review process, our department has been working closely with our county partners in the McChrystal Group, providing information, data, and interviews to identify what worked and what didn't, and where we have opportunities for growth. We are committed to learning, accountability, and continuous improvement, because every incident, every call, and every disaster holds valuable lessons for all of us to make lasting change. Before the fires began, we had already started to coordinate resources by collecting mobile field force rosters and placing our department operations center and incident management teams, which assist with resource deployment and interagency coordination, on standby. As the fire erupted, our deputies and volunteer search and rescue personnel demonstrated extraordinary courage and initiative while conducting evacuations under extremely hazardous conditions, including limited visibility, down power lines, and roads blocked by fallen trees and debris. Using loudspeaker, individual door-to-door notifications, patrol vehicle sirens, they worked tirelessly to alert residents. Many deputies didn't wait for official evacuation orders. They acted decisively, taking heroic steps to rescue and assist anyone in danger. Their swift actions undoubtedly saved countless lives. Again, I don't downgrade the numbers that we lost, but our people, our firefighters, deputies, sheriffs, and volunteers saved thousands of lives over those hours. As noted in the report, our deputies coordinated and utilized transit buses to evacuate hundreds of elderly residents from skilled nursing home and a senior community complex. During my visits to the staging areas and command posts, I had many heartfelt conversations with deputies who were out on the front lines. One particularly memorable moment was speaking with a group of Altadena deputies who were visibly emotional. Some of them with tears running down their faces, expressing deep sorrow and heartbreak upon learning the members of their own community had been lost. You got to understand, ladies and gentlemen, our deputies wanted to save every single person out there, just like our firefighters and volunteers did. So it took a very big emotional toll on all of us. Ultimately, in a perfect world, we would have wanted to zero lives lost. But unfortunately, disasters are rarely perfect. There was no playbook for what we saw and experienced this last January. But I do want to highlight some improvements that are underway. We did not wait for this after-action report to be completed before taking action. We were very self-critical, and we are moving forward to serve our community better. Our department began addressing challenges and reviewing and updating our evacuation emergency operating procedures. We also developed and launched what we call a Citizens Evacuation Tracker back on the early stages of April for improved real-time situational awareness. This will make us better for the next time around. On August 21st, we started rolling out approximately close to 300 new vehicles. All these vehicles, many of you were at our press conference, have high-low evacuation siren. I won't get into the details about that, but that's just an extra step that we've taken. I have said this many times. The Sheriff's Department has been operating with outdated technology for a long time. I have been proactively and actively working to modernize our systems to transform our department into a 21st century law enforcement organization to better serve our community. We are currently in the process of replacing our outdated 30-year-old computer-aided dispatch system. This new system, which will come online later this year, or at the beginning of next year, thanks to the support from the supervisors, will completely enhance the way our deputies operate in the field and would have helped in this situation as well. We are also working towards a centralized dispatch center in both North County and in the Basin. Our team has thoroughly reviewed the report's findings and recommendations, and we remain committed to improvement, transparency, and collaboration. We're going to continue to work closely with our county partners and agencies, look at this report very thoroughly and make sure that we're, again, rolling up our sleeves and doing everything that we can. But I also want to throw out this other reminder. While our department was fully engaged in managing in this devastating natural disaster, we never lost sight of our core mission. What I mean by that is throughout this crisis and multiple disasters in our county, our men and women were out there continuing to respond to calls for service all over this county, conducting investigation, protecting communities, and really doing their mission throughout the entire county of Los Angeles. They never turned their backs on the rest of the residents, and we have a very large county. This dual effort speaks volumes about the dedication and resilience and professionalism of the men and women of our department. No matter the challenges we face as a department or as a county, we will continue to serve our communities with unwavering commitment. Again, as I wrap up, I really want to thank the two supervisors for asking for this review to be done. We will learn a lot. We will get better. And I also want to thank the McChrystal Group for their assessment. And now I'd like to introduce the LA County Fire Chief, Tony Maroney.
So thank you, Sheriff Luna. Good afternoon. I'm County of Los Angeles Fire Chief Anthony Maroney. We welcome the independent after-action review of alert notification systems and evacuation policies completed by the McChrystal Group. I want the public to know that the County of Los Angeles Fire Department fully participated in all interviews and provided all requested data. I thank the McChrystal Group for providing recommendations to help guide LA County's future responses. I would also like to express my gratitude to Board Chair and Supervisor Catherine Barger and Supervisor Lindsay Horvath for their leadership. I'm also extremely proud of and thankful for all the first responders who came to battle the 5 wildfires that started between January 7th and January 8th. Although I appreciate the McChrystal Group's thorough review, as well as input from residents and communities, and the reporting from members of the media over the last 9 months, the reality is that no report or review or article will accurately capture or reflect the absolute horror and tragedy that occurred and unfolded that night. The fire, the unprecedented winds and destruction, the lack of fire resources, and the lives saved, but most importantly, the lives lost. The Eaton and Palisades fire transitioned to community conflagrations shortly after ignition on January 7th, quickly moving into and through neighborhoods, including those that have never been affected by wildfire before. Unprecedented and shifting hurricane-force winds caused house-to-house ignition and a never-before-seen ember cast that outpaced firefighters and increased fire spread. Protecting people and communities without the benefit of helicopter firefighting and the aerial intelligence they provide further challenged our efforts. However, firefighters, sheriff's deputies, and other law enforcement officers never gave up. They were able to rescue over 1,400 elderly and disabled residents from several senior living and care facilities, in addition to countless community members. We have assembled a department team to build upon the proactive steps already taken to improve processes and incorporate recommendations to do better. This includes clearer policies, coordinated training, integrated tools and technology, and improved public communication. Our heartfelt condolences remain with all the families who lost loved ones, along with everyone who lost homes and businesses and have been displaced. All the improvements that we're going to make are in the memory of the 31 lives lost in this tragic natural disaster that turned into a community conflagration. Thank you. I would now like to invite up Director of the Office of Emergency Management, Kevin McGowan.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon. Kevin McGowan, Director of the Office of Emergency Management. 2025 has been an incredibly challenging and heartbreaking year for the thousands of people across Los Angeles County affected by the Eaton and Palisades wildfires. I'm certain that not a day has gone by that all of us involved in the response haven't thought about all that have been impacted. To the lost loved ones, the people who lost homes and livelihoods, we remain committed day in and day out to the recovery. The McChrystal Report helps us begin to answer these critical questions about the performance of our collective response. It's going to help the county, our residents, understand the full scope of what it takes to be prepared for natural disasters. We all have a role to play in safeguarding our families, friends, homes, and communities. And through this experience, we've come to understand what the true meaning of our collective resilience needs to be. My office is thoroughly reviewing every recommendation outlined in this report. In addition to what the sheriff and the fire chief had spoken about, we're already implementing corrective actions as early as the winter storms that took place immediately following the wildfires. And we will continue to build on the progress that we've continued to make, and we are fully committed to the tough work ahead to implement all of the improvements cited. Today, we stand as a united county leadership group that pledges to our community, day in and day out, that the highest priority is your safety before, during, and after catastrophic disasters. I want to thank the Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Barger, and Supervisor Horvath particularly for commissioning this independent review and for ensuring a thorough and transparent process. I also want to thank the members of the public who provided valuable input to the McChrystal Group. Your feedback, stories, and insights were meaningfully shaping how we move forward. We know several additional after actions that have already been mentioned are still underway, and the Office of Emergency Management is fully committed to engaging in all of those. Finally, I want to express my thanks and gratitude to the dedicated team at the Office of Emergency Management. In the face of these unprecedented challenges, they responded with professionalism and unwavering commitment that saved lives. Thank you for your time, and I'm going to hand it over to Lenny.
Hi, everyone. We'll take your questions now. If you could please raise your hand and let one of the mic handlers get over to you and state your name and outlet before you ask your question. Let's start right here. We'll bring you ours.
Oh, great. Madam Chair, if I may, the report points out that the county is facing, it's under-resourced, it's understaffed, you're dealing with some budgetary issues, but there's also this relationship with the White House that's a little bit contentious as well. So will you be able to get federal funding from the White House or the Trump administration to close some of these gaps?
A good question, and I can't give you a definitive, but I can tell you that I will work with the White House, I will work with the state, but as far as the county and resources, we have to make priorities. Each and every Tuesday when we make decisions based on our budget, it's based on priorities. This McChrystal Group report highlights the fact that we are not prepared if, God forbid, we have another emergency like this. I'm not going to say the White House is going to write a blank check, but I can tell you that we are going to put everything forward, and I will advocate on behalf of my constituents who don't care whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. They just want to know that their taxpayer dollars are going to protect them. And this is a priority for me personally, because it's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
Pete Demetrio.
Call me out by name. I can take it. Don't worry about it. I'm not crippled here. I don't know if the McChrystal Group or somebody else wants to handle this. You've already mentioned the idea of needing to reorganize, if you would, the emergency management structure of Los Angeles County and to augment it. How long do you think that's going to take? What do you think it's going to cost? And how fast can you do it? Because right now it's tick-tock. You're in the middle of brush fire season coming on up here. You don't have 8 months, a year, or more. You'll be lucky if you have 8 weeks. That's first question. Second, does the report identify any means of going toward a more aggressive outreach to high-risk areas throughout Los Angeles County, to where you get into people's homes, get into their minds and saying, the sheriff, the fire department is there in an emergency, but you have an affirmative responsibility to get your act together and to be able to self-evacuate and do the necessary emergency things without waiting for 911 calls or anything else like this? Is that being done, and is it time that tough love takes effect in the county of Los Angeles with people who are living in high-risk zones?
Thank you, Pete. I'll address the first question related to the Office of Emergency Management and the resources. We have already implemented 6 new positions and are going through the final stages of the selection process. This is just the very beginning of what is going to be an incremental process. At the same time, we've already implemented additional trainings that everyone in the Office of Emergency Management is going through. And while we're doing this, we've reprioritized to core response and recovery efforts to maintain a baseline moving forward and then build off of what the recommendations are. Thank you.
Yeah, so you've highlighted what is the most important critical focus area, but it will also be the hardest to execute, and that's the linkage between the Office of Emergency Management and the people that are issuing alerts and people that are actually receiving alerts and knowing what to do about them. The first is there's a huge diversity of sources of information, whether it's social media, whether it's Genesis alerts, and other things. The residents, though, however, don't always have a good idea of how they should be executing, and that we saw that in the community engagements. There was disparity on, I see that I have an alert, but I can't tell how serious the fire is. I need to know whether I should evacuate or not, and that's something that needs to be clarified.
All due respect. Yeah, please. I mean, it isn't, you're saying different sources to find out whether there's an alert. You don't wait until there's an alert or a fire. You should have that bag and everything else in a strategy set to go before they even kick in a red flag warning. People should have their cars pointed nose out, gear in hand, and if they even think or smell smoke, they should be looking to get in that car and, pardon my language, unask their home and get out of there. Because if you wait until there is fire and in that notification, you're already too late.
No.
Are you stressing that to get into people's mindset right now?
Yes.
This is your life, and you'd better do something to save yourself.
Yeah, so that is included in Critical Focus Area 5. There is a personal responsibility. This is a shared responsibility model. The county has a duty to warn, and citizens have a responsibility to get out once they've received these warnings. Additionally, we saw cases where people in neighborhoods decided that they'd gotten alerts, but they were not going to evacuate because their neighbor hadn't evacuated. That's not necessarily the right way to execute. You have to have your own individual plan based on what's right for you.
Let me, as you're getting ready, let me just follow up on just a clarification for everybody. Our county is ready for emergencies. I don't want anyone to walk away from here thinking that we are incapable or unwilling to do our jobs. As a matter of fact, this county is probably more prone to emergencies than any other county in the United States. Our men and women, whether it is from the Sheriff's Department, the Fire Department, OEM, we respond to things every day. What we're talking about here is an unprecedented event that we've never seen here before. So I just want to clear that it's not for every wildfire, or this was an incident that none of us, specifically those who have worked in the county of Los Angeles for 40 years plus, have never ever seen. So I want to make that clear. And then to your point, Pete, just one other thing. This isn't about pointing fingers. But if a deputy sheriff comes to your door and tells you that you need to evacuate, you need to go. There's no thinking about it. There's things that are going on, and it is frustrating at times when we're asking people. I have deputies putting their lives on the line to evacuate people, and people are refusing to go. And then they call back later, say, well, now I changed my mind, I want to go, and I got to send people back in there to risk their lives. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a learning lesson for all of us in this community, because we got to do this together. I just want to make sure that's clear for everybody.
Okay, now we'll go to Christina.
Thank you. I can hold it. It's okay. My name is Christina Gonzalez, Fox 11. My question is actually from Eaton fire survivors that I sat with before this press conference to go over some of the findings with. And what they're asking is as follows. First of all, are any of you surprised by any of these findings? And if the same fire happened tomorrow, even as you speak of implementing changes and starting right now to implement changes, can you honestly guarantee to these people that the outcome would be very different, if at all?
I can tell you, and I think I speak for all of us, but I'm going to speak for the Sheriff's Department. The answer to that is yes. Today would be different. There's already things that we're implementing. We've already talked about them where we would be even better than we were. But again, it depends on the event. If there's a wildfire, if there's an earthquake, whatever that is, we're going to be there. We're going to do our best to make sure that we're saving lives. We're going to be there for you. But I also don't want to set unrealistic expectations. And this is where the emergency preparedness comes in. It's a two-way street. It's a partnership. You got to be ready. You got to pay attention to what's going on out there. and we're going to work together. But the simple answer is yes, we're better prepared today. We're going to even be better prepared as we improve our equipment and our technologies based on lessons learned and lessons that we're learning from this report.
Yeah, thank you for that question. That's a good question. So I just want all of your listeners and viewers to know that we are going to be better next time. However, this was hurricane force winds that unfortunately had an associated fire. We will never have enough firefighters to have a truck in front of each person's house. We lost over 10,000 structures, but more importantly, we lost 19 lives at the Eaton and 12 lives at the Palisades. When Sheriff Luna talks about evacuating and evacuating early, we absolutely must message that to our residents. But if we think we can hire enough firefighters or buy enough fire trucks to put out a fire like that, we're foolish. We have to spend our time hardening homes, making sure that we have good defensible space, and we need to do a better job managing our fuels and our forests. So when a fire does move through the area, it doesn't impact residents. Lastly, residents that have disabilities or mobility challenges, we have to come up with a way to identify them so we can rescue them if they can't self-evacuate. It's heartbreaking what happened to the people in this fire. You know, many people with disabilities, many people who were older in age were affected, and we have to figure out how to save them next time. We tried. Our firefighters and our sheriff's deputies absolutely risked their lives trying to rescue people who were calling 911, and help never arrived. We have to do better as a county, but we also have to do better as a community. I ask everybody, since we are still in brush fire season, if you get an evacuation order and you have a neighbor that you know of that has a disability or a mobility challenge, please do not leave without them. Go and get them, because they might not be able to get out. They might not know that their life is in jeopardy. Normally, we evacuate for the fire front. It's a different day. Embercast is a huge problem. You know, we had structures burning well ahead of the fire front. We have to do it differently next time, and I commit to you that we will. But let's partner with the community, and don't leave your neighbor with a disability or a mobility challenge behind. Thank you.
And then I'm going to address the, is it what I expected? I knew there was a breakdown somewhere. I just didn't know what was taking place, because I know Supervisor Horvath and I would get constituents who would say that they got evacuation notices and they were like 50 miles away or 25 miles away in LA County. So we knew the system, there was this breakdown in the system. But this looks at it holistically. So it's not just looking at the alerts, which, by the way, don't depend upon your cell phone to alert you. I have a friend whose phone died, so it wouldn't have mattered. So we have to look at this holistically. So am I surprised? No. But I appreciate the fact that now I understand what we need to focus on as a board to make sure that what we begin to fix actually is going to make a difference.
Let's go to David Wilson.
David Wilson, Southern California News Group. Sheriff Luna, you mentioned the updated CAD system. Is part of that kind of aligning with the fire department's CAD system? And is there any way with this new technology that it can be more streamlined, or so those two things can talk together if another emergency like this occurs?
We're moving forward with our CAD system. We are talking to our partners over at Fire because they're in the process of doing one themselves. And we're hoping that whatever we move forward with will absolutely be able to communicate with each other. Our communication was actually, for as many things as we were dealing with, Remember, we had 2 large fires 58 miles apart. It was pretty darn good, but yet there's lessons learned. What can we do better? So the technologies, I talked about the frustration for all of us of having outdated technology systems. Those are things that we're going to be presenting forward as we already started to do so we can improve for the future.
Yeah, and just to tag on to what Sheriff Luna said, we both are in a situation where we have very old CADs. The fire department's computer-aided dispatch system is over 30 years old. The McChrystal Group correctly pointed out that we need a common operating picture. We need to leverage technology to make sure that OEM, fire, and sheriff are all seeing the same information simultaneously. And like Sheriff Luna said, we're going to work with the sheriffs to make sure that we have interoperability between our CADs because it'll save lives in the future. We need to know where the 911 calls are coming from and being able to seamlessly send that out to the incident commanders in the field.
Spectrum News.
Megan Mitchell on behalf of Chase Beach at Spectrum News. Is there concern this report could affect the state's request for fire aid funds from the federal government?
I don't see that. I mean, I think that the state and the fed, we have to work together to see if there's grants, if there are abilities for us to work together. But I'm not going to conflate the two at this point. I'm just going to focus on what the board needs to put together. Supervisor Horvath and I were just talking about how we need to make sure it's a coordinated effort and that we follow through with that coordinated effort, and then we'll cross that bridge. But I'm not going to conflate the two right now.
Here in the front row.
I was just going to add for fire funding, I think that was the specific question. The state's been very supportive of the LA County Fire Department, as CAL FIRE has and the Office of Emergency Services. So we had many of their resources down for this fire event on the 7th and 8th that actually went through the 22nd of January. The state's been very supportive. I can't imagine that this report would put that funding in jeopardy.
Hi, Romy DeFrias with Univision Network. My question is for Sheriff Luna. Desde el punto de vista del Departamento del Alguacil del Condado de Los Ángeles, ¿dónde ocurrieron las fallas y cómo las están corrigiendo?
Las fallas están escribidas en el reporte de que estamos hablando del McChrystal Group. Ese es el reporte que va a salir. Nosotros en el Departamento de Alguacil ya cogimos pasos para adelante antes que salió el reporte para cambiar unas cosas que pasaron y vamos a mirar el reporte a ver qué más podemos aprender. Pero lo quiero decir en español también, que este incendio fue algo que nadie en su vida aquí miró. Fue algo que no hacemos todo el tiempo. Hay cosas que aprendemos y lo vamos a hacer mejor la próxima vez, pero hay muchas cosas que aprendimos y todo está en el reporte. Y podemos hablar de eso aparte si gusta.
Aparte de las fallas, ¿qué le puede decir usted al público para que la próxima vez no tengamos tantas vidas que se han perdido en un incendio?
Para contestar eso, primero quiero decir que lo siento cuando perdimos una vida. Perdiendo 31 total es una cosa que duele mucho, pero no quiero que el público pierde que los deputy sheriffs y bomberos salvaron miles de vidas en esos 24, 48 horas. Hicieron mucho trabajo. Pero en el otro lado de eso, nosotros vamos a hacer lo que podemos para hacerlo mejor, pero el público tiene una obligación que cuando los otros del departamento del condado manden mensajes que tienen que evacuar, lo tienen que hacer. La gente a veces se quiere quedar ahí hasta el minuto que están en mucho peligro y luego no podemos ir a buscarlos. Gracias.
Middle section here.
Hi, Terry Castleman from the LA Times here. I want to start with a quick clarification for Chief Maroney. If I heard you right, you were saying that you'll need a new CAD system to help sort of map the 911 calls at Incident Command. Is that accurate?
I think that we can leverage technology to have a better CAD system among that's viewable by OEM, the sheriffs, and LA County Fire. I would like to see a system where incident commanders in the field can see 911 calls that are coming into a specific area, especially if it's an area adjacent to the wildfire. Right now, like the sheriff said, we have a very big county. We don't want to see the 911 calls that are in Lancaster when we have a fire in the Palisades, but we should be able to see 911 calls. Maybe they could be coded different colors, like red for fire, blue for EMS, yellow if people need evacuation, just to give the incident commanders situational awareness on what's going on at our headquarters on Eastern Avenue, because we need to use technology to make sure that we can have a better response. I'd also like to see satellite data, real-time satellite data that's going to be downloaded to our tablet command platform, but also hotspot data. Because in the past, we've had evacuations as the fire front was approaching. I'd also like to know where hotspots and flare-ups are so we could put those zones under warning and then into order.
Just one more for Supervisor Barger. The report names no person or agency as responsible for the failed evacuation alerts in West Altadena, where 18 people died. Residents have asked for action and for those responsible to be held accountable for delayed alerts. Who should be held accountable?
Well, I mean, I think that, and I know it's been the frustration, there is no one smoking gun. And I know that's problematic for people to understand. But if you read the report and you understand how this fire was behaving, going up into the mountains where we didn't have, I think Chief Maroney talked about it, we didn't have the aerial support to do the surveillance to understand where the fire was. And by the time we had it, it was coming down onto the west side. There's no question that there were failures, but it was not one specific individual or one specific department that can have an off with your heads. At the end of the day, we've got to accept the fact that it truly was the perfect storm for the way the failures worked as it relates to the alert. And even when it came down the mountain, because I was reading it again last night, it came down at such a speed that, quite frankly, it wouldn't have gone to warning to immediate evacuation, which brings up the point that's in the McChrystal report, and that is that we need to better prepare people to recognize that it's not, you've got to be prepared all the time. And if there is a fire and it's in your area, be prepared to evacuate. Don't wait for someone to come and tell you to evacuate. If you feel that you're going to need extra time, get out of there. Eaton is a little different because there were more areas to do ingress and egress, but Palisades, there was not. And by the time people evacuated, it became a problem. And so, you know, there are lessons learned for sure, but with the West Side, there is no one individual that you can point to and say you failed at your job. It was a combination of many things taking place, including the way this fire was acting. And, you know, offline you can talk to Chief Maroney and to talk about that part of it, but that created what we are here to discuss today.
And then just to add to that, sorry, Pete, we'll get to you right now. In fairness to all of you, just last week, I saw for the first time the satellite imagery that they're going to show in the presentation Tuesday. Once you start seeing the behavior of this fire, it's like the light bulb comes on. Oh my God, I can't believe this is what was happening. And I think the obvious question is going to be is, thank God more lives weren't lost when you saw or see the behavior of, or the trajectory of this fire and how it was whipping around and then going backwards. It was something firefighters are saying they've never seen. Wait till you see that on Tuesday.
Last question.
Again, David Wilson, Southern California News Group. For Director McGowan, there was a mention in the report about concern over overwarning in terms of evacuations. Looking back now, was that a valid still concern that OAM is going to take to the next disaster? And then secondly, it mentioned a 20 to 30 minute time period between identifying an evacuation and the notification going out, and that was an improvement from before. But for your perspective, is that enough or quick enough time for that to happen, or do you still think that needs to be improved?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So the first question related to over-evacuation, I want to bring some clarity. And I think the report does a good job at specifying this, so I encourage everyone to read through that section clearly. The over-evacuation issue stems at congestion of evacuating very large geographical areas with tens of thousands of people and then putting them all out onto the streets at one period of time. The Emergency Operations Center is who enacts the emergency notification in partnership with Sheriff and Fire. And at the Incident Command Post, they are evaluating that issue related to how much people are being evacuated, what's the flow going to be, are they going to get trapped because of these congestions. So there's this methodical approach of selecting zones and doing the evacuations based on measuring kind of that traffic impact also. So in the report, there's mention around between the Incident Command Post and communication with the EOC about, the notion of over-evacuation of an area. Whenever the EOC was informed that a decision was made, the EOC acted on that decision. There wasn't a secondary question and answer period where the EOC said, oh, hey, we're concerned that this would create an issue. It was decision's been made, and then the Emergency Operations Center sends out that notification for what the Incident Command Post has designated as that evacuation area. So I hope that brings a little bit of clarity around over-evacuation issues. Related to the time frame it takes to send out a notification from when a decision is made, I want to elaborate a little bit on some detail. There are requirements that we need to meet when sending out that evacuation. It is not a simplistic process. We have to craft a message, translate that message into commonly spoken languages in that area, and we have to go through validation processes so that we can ensure that that message is going to go out effectively. In addition to that, there's multiple modalities that send out that message: wireless emergency alerts, non-weather emergency alerts through weather radios, and then our local program, alertlacounty.org, which I'm going to throw a plug in here. Everyone should be signing up for alertla.org. They go to that website and sign up for the alert campaign. That is our most powerful tools in getting information out in real time. And it takes time, every time a decision is made, to do all of those functions and then get the validation to send it out. I would say, generally speaking, as an career emergency manager, having done a lot of emergency notifications for disasters, that a 15 to 20 minute timeline is beyond what the standard across this country is doing with that. I also want to manage expectations that at the beginning of an emergency, there's a lot of challenges in just understanding the context of what's going on with that emergency, and that alert could be at a later period of time. And so you can canvass all of the alerts that are going on across the country for emergencies, and I still believe that the nights of January 7th into the 8th, we were sending out emergency notifications by far and away at the fastest speed we could, effectively meeting the requirements we need to meet. Lastly, about your question about can we do better? Yes, that's the purpose of this report. The purpose of this review was to push ourselves even further to be even better at what we're doing. And my commitment to the community is that we will work tirelessly to make sure that we are executing those emergency notifications as quickly as we possibly can. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. That concludes our press conference for today. We hope everyone's back on Tuesday, and we do have the communications staff here in the room to help you with any lingering questions or point you to information. Thank you.